7 tests that break most people. In life, we all face challenges. We face obstacles that test our strength, our resolve, and our spirit. But not all challenges are equal. Some of these tests are so powerful that they have the potential to break even the most resilient among us. The beauty of life lies not in avoiding these tests, but in how we rise to meet them. Today, I want to talk about 7 tests that break most people, but also about how you can pass them and come out stronger on the other side. Adversity is an undeniable part of life, and while it's often unwanted, it is something that can shape us in ways we can't always predict. The challenges we face in life, whether personal, professional, or emotional, have a way of testing our limits, our resolve, and our very understanding of ourselves. In many cases, adversity has the potential to break us, but it also has the power to build us into something stronger than we were before. The key lies in how we respond to it, how we choose to face these trials head-on, and what we learn along the way. When we experience adversity, it's common to feel overwhelmed, lost, or even hopeless. The weight of failure, loss, or struggle can feel unbearable at times. The pain, the fear of what's to come, and the uncertainty of how to proceed can cloud our judgment and make it hard to find a way out. In these moments, it is easy to forget that hardship is not the end of the road, but a necessary part of the journey toward growth and strength. Adversity is a crucible, a place where the raw material of who we are is tested and refined. What we often fail to realize in the heat of adversity is that it is in these moments that we are being forged. Just like steel is hardened by fire, we too are tempered by the challenges we face. Every setback, every difficulty, every failure is an opportunity to become more resilient. It forces us to confront our weaknesses, to acknowledge our vulnerabilities, and to dig deep within ourselves to discover what we are truly made of. The process is not easy, and it doesn't always feel good, but the result is always growth. One of the most difficult aspects of adversity is that it forces us out of our comfort zones. Most of us naturally gravitate toward safety, toward what is familiar and predictable. We avoid risk because it can lead to failure or pain. But it is precisely this avoidance that keeps us from achieving our fullest potential. Adversity challenges us to step into the unknown, to face fear and uncertainty, and to keep moving forward even when the way ahead isn't clear. It's easy to stay comfortable when things are going well, but it's in the moments of discomfort that we find out what we are truly capable of. As we navigate through adversity, we also learn the importance of resilience, the ability to bounce back from hardship. Resilience is not something we are born with, it is something we develop over time. It's a skill that we cultivate through experience, trial, and error. The more we face and overcome challenges, the stronger our resilience becomes. Resilience is what allows us to keep going when everything in us wants to give up. It's the internal drive that pushes us to rise after we fall and to keep fighting for what we want, no matter how many obstacles stand in our way. In addition to resilience, adversity teaches us patience. Patience is perhaps one of the most difficult virtues to cultivate because it goes against our natural desire for instant results. When things aren't going as planned, it's easy to get frustrated and give up. But adversity often requires that we wait, that we endure the process even when the end result is unclear. It teaches us that growth doesn't happen overnight, that success doesn't come easily, and that the most valuable lessons are often learned in the moments of struggle. Patience teaches us to trust the process, to believe that what we are going through is preparing us for something greater. Adversity also forces us to confront our own limitations. When life is easy, it's easy to assume that we have it all figured out. We think we know what we're capable of, what we're good at, and what we can handle. But when adversity strikes, it challenges these assumptions. It forces us to confront our fears, to face our weaknesses, and to acknowledge the areas where we need to grow. This can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is through this process that we begin to see the truth of who we are. Adversity strips away the false layers of ego and self-deception, revealing our authentic selves. It shows us not just who we are, but who we can become. When we are faced with adversity, we also learn the value of perseverance. Perseverance is the ability to keep going when everything seems against us, when failure seems imminent, and when the road ahead looks impossible. It's the strength to keep moving forward, even when progress seems slow or non-existent. Perseverance is what separates those who succeed from those who give up. It's the willingness to endure discomfort, to push through the hard times, and to continue taking action even when results are not immediate. The road to success is rarely a straight line. It's filled with detours, obstacles, and setbacks. But perseverance is what keeps us on the path, no matter how winding or difficult it may be. Finally, adversity teaches us empathy. When we go through hardship, we gain a deeper understanding of what others are going through. We develop compassion for those who are struggling because we can relate to their pain. This empathy connects us to others in a way that success and ease never could. It fosters a sense of solidarity and understanding, reminding us that we are not alone in our struggles. Through adversity, we learn that we are all connected by our shared human experience, and that compassion is the glue that binds us together. In the end, adversity is not something to fear. It is not something that exists to break us, but rather to build us. The challenges we face in life, though difficult and painful, are the very things that shape us into who we are meant to be. They teach us strength, resilience, patience, perseverance, and empathy. They reveal to us the truth of who we are and what we are capable of. And most importantly, they remind us that no matter how hard life gets, we have the power to rise above it and become better for having gone through it. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions that humans experience. It has the potential to paralyze us, control our actions, and keep us from reaching our full potential. Most of us have encountered fear at some point in our lives, whether it's the fear of failure, the fear of the unknown, or the fear of judgment. But despite its overwhelming nature, fear is a natural part of being human, and it's not something we can simply avoid or eliminate. The key to living a fulfilling and successful life is not in eliminating fear, but in learning how to face it, understand it, and use it as a tool for growth. At its core, fear is a response to perceived danger, whether real or imagined. It's the body's way of preparing us for fight or flight, an evolutionary mechanism designed to protect us from harm. Fear activates the body's stress response, increasing heart rate, heightening awareness, and focusing our energy on survival. In many situations, fear can be incredibly helpful. It keeps us from making reckless decisions, helps us avoid dangerous situations, and allows us to respond quickly when necessary. But fear also has a downside when it becomes chronic or disproportionate to the situation. It can limit our ability to take action, prevent us from seizing opportunities, and hold us back from pursuing our dreams. The problem with fear is that it often operates in our subconscious, controlling our behavior without us even realizing it. Many people go through life making decisions based on what they fear, rather than what they truly want. Fear of failure keeps us from taking risks or trying new things. Fear of judgment prevents us from expressing ourselves authentically. Fear of rejection stops us from putting ourselves out there in relationships or career opportunities. The longer we allow fear to dictate our choices, the more we limit our potential and create a life that is smaller than what we are capable of. One of the most important things to understand about fear is that it is not necessarily an indication that something is wrong. In fact, fear often shows up when we are on the verge of growth or change. When we step outside our comfort zone, when we try something new or take a leap of faith, fear is almost always present. It's a signal that we are pushing our boundaries, stretching ourselves, and confronting the unknown. This is why fear is often associated with opportunities for growth. The key is to recognize that fear is not something to be avoided, but something to be embraced and used as a tool for personal development. Instead of allowing fear to control us, we can choose to face it head on. This involves a mindset shift from seeing fear as an enemy to viewing it as a guide. Fear can tell us a lot about ourselves, what we value, what we care about, and where we feel most vulnerable. By examining our fears, we can gain insight into our desires, our passions, and the areas of our life that need attention. For example, fear of failure might reveal a deep desire for success or a passion for a particular goal. Fear of judgment might indicate a need for validation or acceptance. By acknowledging and understanding our fears, we can begin to separate them from the truth of who we are and the reality of the situation. The next step is to reframe fear. Instead of seeing fear as something that holds us back, we can choose to view it as a signal that we are on the right path. Fear is a sign that we are stepping into new territory, that we are growing, and that we are facing something important. This mindset shift helps us take control of fear rather than being controlled by it. we can recognize that fear is a natural response to change, and that growth never happens without a little discomfort. When we learn to embrace fear as part of the process, we free ourselves to take action despite it. One of the most powerful tools for overcoming fear is action. The more we allow fear to control us, the more it grows. But when we take small, consistent steps forward, even in the face of fear, we begin to diminish its power. Action helps to break the cycle of inaction and self-doubt that fear often creates. It builds confidence and proves to ourselves that we can handle whatever comes our way. Every time we face our fear and take action, we prove to ourselves that fear doesn't have to stop us. The more we do this, the more we build resilience and confidence, and the easier it becomes to face future fears. It's also important to acknowledge that fear is not always rational. Often the things we fear the most are unlikely to happen. We fear failure, but most failures are not catastrophic. They are simply opportunities to learn and grow. We fear rejection, but rejection is rarely a reflection of our worth. It's often a result of circumstances outside of our control. We fear judgment, but the truth is that most people are too focused on their own lives to be constantly judging others. By recognizing that fear is often based on distorted thinking, we can start to separate fact from fiction and challenge the limiting beliefs that fear feeds on. Another crucial aspect of overcoming fear is developing a strong sense of self-belief. Fear often thrives in an environment of self-doubt, insecurity, and lack of confidence. When we believe in ourselves and our ability to handle whatever comes our way, fear loses its power over us. Building self-belief requires consistent practice, self-compassion, and an understanding that we are capable of handling challenges, no matter how difficult they may seem. The more we believe in ourselves, the more we can face fear with courage and resilience. Ultimately, fear is a choice. It is not something that happens to us, it is something we choose to engage with. We can choose to let fear control our lives, or we can choose to face it and move forward despite it. The key to overcoming fear is not in eliminating it, but in changing our relationship with it. In life, the pressure to succeed is immense. We live in a society that places high value on achievement, accomplishment, and progress. From an early age, we are taught that success is the ultimate goal, the thing we should strive for, and the measure of our worth. Whether it's academic success, career advancement, financial prosperity, or personal milestones, the drive to succeed can feel overwhelming. But behind this external pressure, there lies an internal struggle that many of us face, the struggle to maintain our focus, our passion, and our determination when success seems so distant or elusive. This pressure can be paralyzing, leading to feelings of doubt, frustration, and in some cases, the belief that success is simply unattainable. The notion of chasing success has become ingrained in our mindset. We are often taught to set goals, work tirelessly toward them, and expect rewards for our efforts. But what happens when success doesn't come quickly, or when we encounter setbacks? We begin to doubt ourselves, question our abilities, and wonder if we are on the right path. The longer we chase success, the more it seems like an ever-moving target that is always just out of reach. The pursuit of success, rather than fulfilling us, can leave us feeling empty, exhausted, and defeated. It's easy to get caught in this cycle, believing that if we just work a little harder or try a little longer, success will finally be ours. But this mindset can cause more harm than good, often leading us to neglect what truly matters in life. The first problem with chasing success is that it creates an external focus, one that places our value on external outcomes rather than internal growth. Success in this context is often defined by societal standards, money, status, recognition, things that are beyond our full control. We become fixated on these markers, believing that once we achieve them, we will be happy, fulfilled, and complete. But this external focus blinds us to the importance of the internal journey, the growth, self-awareness, and personal development that truly define success. The reality is that success is not something that can be chased. It is something that must be cultivated from within. True success comes from a place of self-awareness and clarity. It is the ability to be content with who we are, regardless of external achievements. It is about recognizing our worth as individuals and finding purpose in our actions, regardless of whether or not they lead to immediate rewards. When we stop chasing success and instead focus on living with intention, we allow ourselves to embrace the process, learn from our mistakes, and grow in ways that can't be measured by external markers. Success, in this sense, becomes less about reaching a destination and more about the journey itself. Another issue with chasing success is that it can lead to burnout. When we are constantly striving for the next achievement or goal, it can feel like we are never doing enough. We push ourselves harder, work longer hours, and sacrifice our health, relationships, and well-being in the name of success. This pursuit becomes all-consuming, and over time, the very thing we are striving for, the achievement of success, becomes a source of stress and anxiety. We lose sight of what is important, trading our peace of mind for fleeting moments of accomplishment. Success no longer feels satisfying because we have neglected the very aspects of our lives that bring true fulfillment: our health, our relationships, and our connection to what matters most to us. The pressure to chase success also keeps us stuck in a cycle of comparison. We measure our progress against the achievements of others, believing that we are only successful if we are ahead of the pack. This comparison trap fuels feelings of inadequacy and insecurity, making us feel like we are constantly falling short. We look at others' accomplishments and feel like we are not doing enough, or that we are somehow less capable or less deserving of success. This constant comparison takes away from our own unique journey, causing us to lose sight of what makes us special and what we truly want out of life. Rather than focusing on our own goals and values, we become distracted by the successes of others, and in doing so, we lose our sense of self and purpose. One of the most insidious effects of chasing success is the impact it has on our happiness. Success, as defined by external standards, is often conditional. We believe that we will only be happy once we achieve a particular goal or attain a certain level of success. But this mindset traps us in a constant state of longing, always waiting for the next achievement to bring us fulfillment. We postpone our happiness, believing that success is something that will happen in the future, rather than realizing that happiness is something we can cultivate right now. When we chase success, we tie our happiness to something external, which means that our happiness is always out of our control. But when we stop chasing success and focus on being content with who we are, we find that happiness comes from within, independent of external circumstances. The pressure to chase success also causes us to overlook the importance of failure. In a culture that celebrates achievement and success, failure is often seen as something to be avoided at all costs. We fear failure because we believe it means we are not good enough, not capable enough, or not worthy of success. But failure is an essential part of growth. It teaches us valuable lessons, helps us develop resilience, and gives us the opportunity to refine our approach. When we chase success at all costs, we are often unwilling to embrace failure and learn from it. But when we stop chasing success and embrace the journey, we begin to see failure as a necessary part of the process, something that helps us become stronger, wiser, and more capable in the long run. Ultimately, the key to living a fulfilled and meaningful life is to stop chasing success and start creating it from within. Success is not a destination, it is a mindset, a way of living with purpose, intention, and authenticity. It is about understanding that true fulfillment comes from aligning our actions with our values, finding meaning in the process, and embracing both the successes and the failures along the way. When we stop chasing success, we free ourselves to experience life more fully, to find joy in the present moment, and to realize that the greatest achievement is not the one we attain, but the person we become along the journey. The fear of judgment is one of the most pervasive and paralyzing forces in the human experience. It's the voice inside our heads that questions whether we will be accepted, liked, or respected by others. This fear often leads to the inhibition of our authentic selves and causes us to mold our behavior to meet the expectations of others, even at the expense of our true desires and beliefs. In a world where social media amplifies the opinions of others and where public image plays such a significant role in determining personal worth, this fear can become even more pronounced. It's easy to become consumed by the desire to be accepted, to fit in, and to gain approval from others. But the problem with this mindset is that it leads to a constant cycle of self-doubt and inauthenticity, and it can prevent us from living a life that is truly our own. The root of the fear of judgment lies in our deep-seated need for connection and belonging. As social creatures, humans have evolved to thrive in groups. Our survival historically depended on being part of a tribe, community, or family, and being cast out or ostracized could have dire consequences. This evolutionary instinct has shaped our behavior in modern times, leading us to seek acceptance from others as a form of security. We want to be loved, liked, and valued because it gives us a sense of safety and validation. It's natural to want to be seen in a positive light, but when this desire becomes the driving force behind our actions and decisions, it can quickly spiral into an unhealthy pattern that limits our growth and well-being. The fear of judgment manifests in many ways. For some, it shows up as anxiety before speaking in public or expressing an opinion in a group. For others, it may appear as a constant preoccupation with how we look or what others think of us. The fear of being judged can cause us to suppress our true thoughts, feelings, and desires in order to fit into societal expectations or to please those around us. We may dress a certain way to be seen as fashionable or successful, adopt opinions that align with popular trends, or avoid difficult conversations to prevent conflict. Over time, this behavior becomes so ingrained that it feels natural, but it also prevents us from being fully present in our own lives and prevents us from pursuing our genuine passions and goals. One of the most damaging aspects of the fear of judgment is that it keeps us in a state of constant comparison. We measure ourselves against others, believing that our worth is determined by how we stack up. This comparison trap is fueled by social media, where curated images of perfection and success are often presented as the standard. When we compare ourselves to these idealized versions of others, it's easy to feel inadequate, unworthy, or like we don't measure up. We see the highlight reels of others' lives and believe that we are somehow lacking, leading to a sense of personal failure. This cycle of comparison diminishes our self-esteem and creates a distorted view of reality. The truth is that everyone has their own unique journey, and no one's life is as perfect as it may appear on the surface. The fear of judgment also keeps us stuck in inaction. We become so paralyzed by the idea of being judged negatively that we hesitate to take risks, try new things, or put ourselves out there. We worry about how others will perceive our decisions, our failures, and our successes. Will people criticize us for taking a different path? Will they think we are foolish for pursuing an unconventional dream? These questions swirl in our minds and keep us from moving forward. We become prisoners of our own fear, trapped in the cycle of overthinking and second-guessing ourselves. The result is missed opportunities, unfulfilled potential, and the constant regret of never having taken that leap of faith. The fear of judgment also affects our relationships. We may hold back from being truly vulnerable or authentic with others because we fear that they will judge us. We may put on a facade of perfection, hiding our struggles, insecurities, and flaws. We become so concerned with how others perceive us that we lose touch with who we really are. This can lead to shallow, surface-level connections rather than deep, meaningful relationships. Authenticity is the foundation of genuine connection, and when we are afraid of being judged, we distance ourselves from others and prevent ourselves from experiencing the true closeness and intimacy that come from being open and vulnerable. One of the most powerful ways to overcome the fear of judgment is to shift our focus from external validation to internal validation. Instead of relying on the approval of others to define our worth, we must learn to validate ourselves. This means accepting ourselves as we are, flaws and all, and recognizing that our value does not depend on the opinions of others. Self-validation comes from knowing that we are enough, regardless of how others perceive us. It involves cultivating self-compassion and self-acceptance, and giving ourselves permission to be imperfect. When we learn to validate ourselves from within, we free ourselves from the crippling need for external approval. Another crucial step in overcoming the fear of judgment is to embrace vulnerability. It's natural to want to protect ourselves from judgment, but the truth is that vulnerability is where true connection and growth happen. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we show up as our authentic selves and we invite others to do the same. Vulnerability creates space for real. The fear of failure is one of the most powerful and debilitating emotions that can hold us back from achieving our true potential. It's a universal experience, one that everyone faces at some point in their lives, but for many, it becomes an obstacle that prevents progress. The fear of failure can take on many forms: doubts about our abilities, worrying about what others will think of us, or the internal pressure to be perfect. This fear can paralyze us, making us hesitant to take risks, try new things, or pursue our goals. It keeps us stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and inaction, convincing us that failure is something to be avoided at all costs. But in reality, failure is an inevitable part of growth, and embracing it is essential for reaching our full potential. At the root of the fear of failure is the belief that our self-worth is tied to our achievements. We live in a society that often equates success with value, whether it's in our careers, relationships, or personal goals. We're taught to celebrate success and to avoid failure at all costs. But this mindset sets us up for failure itself because it leads us to define our worth based on external outcomes rather than on who we are as individuals. When we tie our self-esteem to success, we begin to view failure as a reflection of our inadequacy, and this can create an overwhelming sense of shame. We worry that if we fail, we will be seen as incompetent, unworthy, or incapable, and this fear can prevent us from even trying. The fear of failure is also rooted in the desire for control. We want to be in charge of our circumstances and outcomes, and the idea that we might not succeed feels like a loss of control. Failure feels unpredictable, uncontrollable, and chaotic, and this uncertainty can be terrifying. We are wired to seek certainty and stability, and failure seems like a threat to both. However, this desire for control often leads us to avoid the very experiences that can help us grow and learn. In reality, the path to success is rarely linear, and the most successful people often experience the greatest failures along the way. Failure is not the end, it's simply part of the process of learning and improvement. The fear of failure is also exacerbated by societal pressure and comparisons with others. In the age of social media, we are constantly exposed to the successes and highlight reels of other people's lives. We see their accomplishments, their perfect moments, and we feel as though we are falling short. We begin to compare ourselves to others and measure our success against their achievements. This comparison can lead to feelings of inadequacy and reinforce the belief that failure is something to be avoided at all costs. We fear that if we fail, we will be judged by others, or worse, be seen as less than. This fear of judgment often leads to a constant cycle of self-criticism and perfectionism, where we believe that only through flawless performance can we prove our worth. One of the most dangerous aspects of the fear of failure is that it keeps us stuck in a state of inaction. We become so consumed by the possibility of failure that we hesitate to take any action at all. The pressure to succeed becomes so overwhelming that it leads to procrastination, self-sabotage, and avoidance. Instead of moving forward, we remain in a state of paralysis, waiting for the perfect moment when we feel more prepared or more confident. This constant waiting creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. The longer we wait, the more we reinforce our fear of failure, and the harder it becomes to take that first step. The longer we avoid failure, the more it gains power over us, preventing us from taking the risks necessary for growth. The fear of failure is also closely tied to perfectionism. Many people believe that in order to succeed, they must do everything perfectly. This belief is especially common in high-achieving individuals who set impossibly high standards for themselves. Perfectionism is driven by the fear that anything less than perfect is a failure. It's the belief that mistakes are unacceptable, and that making a mistake means we are not good enough. But perfectionism is an illusion, and it often leads to burnout, frustration, and dissatisfaction. No one is perfect, and expecting perfection from ourselves only sets us up for disappointment. The truth is that failure is often the best teacher we have. When we fail, we learn valuable lessons that help us improve, adapt, and grow. Without failure, there can be no progress. In order to overcome the fear of failure, it's important to reframe how we view failure itself. Instead of seeing failure as something to be feared, we must learn to see it as an opportunity for growth. Failure is not the end of the road, it's simply a part of the journey. It's the moment when we learn what doesn't work and adjust our approach. Every successful person has faced failure at some point, and those failures have shaped their path to success. When we change our mindset and begin to see failure as a stepping stone rather than a setback, we free ourselves from the paralyzing grip of fear. We begin to take risks, make mistakes, and learn from them, knowing that each failure brings us one step closer to success. Another key to overcoming the fear of failure is learning to embrace imperfection. We must accept that we are not perfect and that mistakes are an inevitable part of being human. Perfectionism keeps us trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and fear, preventing us from taking action and moving forward. When we let go of the need to be perfect, we create space for growth and creativity. We give ourselves permission to fail, knowing that each failure is an opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. Perfectionism only holds us back, while imperfection opens the door to possibility. The fear of failure also diminishes when we learn to embrace the process rather than focusing solely on the outcome. Many people are so fixated on the end result that they forget to enjoy the journey. Success is not just about the destination, it's about the lessons learned, the skills developed, and the personal growth that happens along the way. When we focus on the process and take pride in the effort we put in, we take the pressure off the outcome. This shift in focus allows us to take risks without fear of failure because we are no longer tied to a specific result. We can pursue our goals with curiosity, creativity, and resilience, knowing that the process itself is just as valuable as the outcome. Lastly, overcoming the fear of failure requires a mindset shift. Instead of seeing failure as something to be avoided, we must learn to see it as a necessary part of the path to success. Failure is not something that defines us, it's something that it shapes who we are, teaches us valuable lessons, and helps us grow. When we shift our mindset and begin to view failure as an opportunity for growth, we empower ourselves to take risks, try new things, and ultimately achieve our goals. Success is not the absence of failure, it's the ability to keep going in the face of failure. It's the willingness to take risks, make mistakes, and keep moving forward, no matter how many times we fall. The fear of rejection is deeply ingrained in many people, often influencing our actions and decisions in profound ways. It can be a silent, unspoken force that drives how we behave in our relationships, careers, and personal lives. Rejection, whether it comes in the form of a failed attempt, being turned down, or not being accepted by others, has the power to shake us to our core. It evokes feelings of inadequacy, loneliness, and self-doubt, making us question our worth and our ability to fit in. This fear can become so overpowering that it influences our every decision, often leading us to avoid taking risks or putting ourselves in situations where rejection is even a possibility. At the heart of the fear of rejection is the desire for acceptance. As human beings, we have an innate need to belong, to be seen, and to be valued. From a young age, we are taught to seek approval from others. Whether it's from our parents, teachers, friends, or peers, society often reinforces the importance of fitting in and being liked, with social media amplifying these pressures by constantly comparing our lives to the curated images of others. This need for acceptance can drive us to seek validation, sometimes at the expense of our authenticity. The fear of rejection can lead us to conform to the expectations of others, suppressing our true selves in an attempt to be accepted. The emotional pain of rejection can be intense. When we are rejected, it feels as though a part of us has been dismissed, judged, or disregarded. The sting of rejection taps into our deepest fears and vulnerabilities, leaving us questioning our value and our place in the world. It is a reminder that not everyone will like us, agree with us, or support us, and this can be difficult to accept. It's natural to want to be liked and admired, but when we base our self-worth on the approval of others, rejection can feel like an existential blow. This emotional pain can trigger a cascade of negative thoughts, leading to feelings of shame, embarrassment, and worthlessness. The more we experience rejection, the more it can erode our confidence and make us hesitant to put ourselves out there again. What makes rejection so difficult to handle is not just the negative emotions it generates, but also the way it makes us question our identity. When we face rejection, we often internalize it, believing that it's a reflection of who we are as a person. We might think, "I wasn't good enough," or "I don't belong," which leads to a distorted view of ourselves. Rejection can blur our self-image, causing us to doubt our capabilities, our value, and our place in the world. This is particularly true in environments where external validation plays a significant role, such as the workplace, relationships, and social settings. The fear of rejection becomes a fear of losing our sense of self, as though we are not worthy or lovable unless others approve of us. The fear of rejection also plays a significant role in preventing us from pursuing our dreams and goals. It holds us back from taking risks, trying new things, and reaching for opportunities. We worry about what others will think if we fail or if our efforts aren't well received. This fear often leads to self-sabotage, where we avoid situations where we might face rejection altogether. We might not apply for a job we truly want because we're afraid we won't get it. We might hesitate to speak up in a meeting or share our ideas because we fear criticism or rejection. We might even avoid romantic or personal relationships out of fear that we won't be accepted or loved. This fear traps us in a cycle of inaction and missed opportunities, where we allow the possibility of rejection to dictate our choices. At the same time, the fear of rejection is closely tied to perfectionism. Many people believe that in order to avoid rejection, they must be perfect in everything they do. They strive for flawless performances, impeccable looks, and social approval at every turn. Perfectionism is driven by the idea that rejection is a result of personal flaws or imperfections, and if we can just be perfect, we can avoid it. This mindset creates a constant sense of pressure and anxiety as the fear of making mistakes becomes overwhelming. But perfectionism only sets us up for failure because perfection is unattainable. No one can be perfect all the time, and when we inevitably fall short of our own impossible standards, we experience rejection all over again, this time from ourselves. One of the most powerful ways to combat the fear of rejection is to shift our perspective on what rejection truly means. Instead of seeing rejection as a reflection of our worth or ability, we must learn to view it as a natural part of life, a stepping stone on the road to success.